If you wake up in the morning wondering if you're in the right career, by the end of this talk, I'll give you 5 principles to make it crystal clear. But let me start by telling you about my client, Jason. Jason was a senior product manager at a financial services firm. He was smart, hardworking, well paid, and had ambitions to become the chief information officer. Everything looked good on the outside, but Jason was stuck. He was unfulfilled, and he was close to burnout, and he didn't know why. As I got to know him and we developed a relationship, it became clear that Jason's core issue was that he was misaligned. And the hidden danger is that you can perform well and get all the results, but if your job is not aligned with your authentic self, it can lead to burnout. In fact, a published 2016 study showed that misalignment is actually a bigger factor in burnout than overwork. So how do we fix that? Well, the key is to first get clear on your identity, where you know your life purpose, you celebrate your strengths, and you accept your weaknesses. And listen, I don't mean to disparage hard work. Both performance and identity are important. The key is getting them in the right order. Hey, I've had jobs where I loved getting out of bed in the morning. And I've had jobs where I dreaded getting out of bed in the morning. Okay, and I said to myself, there had to be a better way than just randomly stumbling into the right fit. So I made it a quest to crack the code, and I'm happy to share with you a framework that I use with my executive coaching clients with great results. And this framework is like a diamond, has multiple facets, and when you look at it from different angles, different colors emerge. That's the way this method works. You're going to look at you from different perspectives and ask questions until a beautiful picture emerges. And the first question is to ask other people. Okay? Other people can see you more clearly than you can see yourself. Why is that? Well, you've lived with you your whole life, and so your behaviors and your beliefs have become normalized, and that leads to blind spots. Now, we usually think of blind spots in terms of annoying habits or weaknesses, but your strengths can also hide in a blind spot. You may be discounting your exceptional talents simply because they came easily to you. Okay? And that can lead to missed career opportunities. So how do we fix that? Well, one good way to get objective feedback is to ask 10 people to tell you 5 of your strengths and 1 or 2 weaknesses. And then when they give you their answers, look across and see if there's any patterns there. If multiple people are telling you the same thing, you've just uncovered a truth that you may have been overlooking. Oh, and those weaknesses, they might just be one of your strengths overplayed. For instance, I have a family member who has the strength of great communicator, but when it's overplayed, looks like talks too much. Okay, the next ask is to ask an assessment. To quote Dr. Donald Clifton, what would happen if we studied what was right with people instead of what was wrong with them? Okay? The hidden danger, if you are not clear on how you're wired, is that you'll get caught in a trap of comparison. I should be like that, rather than a healthy sense of I am like this. And that's why I love assessments. IQ tests measure how smart you are, but assessments measure how are you smart. And the exercise for this is very simple. Just take 1 or 2 assessments. I particularly like the Gallup-Clifton Strengths Assessment. It measures different areas of talent, but there are many others. There's the Enneagram, DISC, Myers-Briggs, Working Genius, and there are many others. And each provide a detailed report that you can look over and learn more about how you're wired. The next ask is to ask your heart. Passion isn't what you love, it's also what you hate. What deeply moves you? What do you care about so much that you're willing to sacrifice for it, that you'll pay a personal price? That's real passion. The danger in missing this is to have a successful career that looks good on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. I once had a job where I was paid more than any other roles I've ever worked, but I wasn't passionate about it. And one day, about 3 years later, I was sitting out on my back deck and doing some reflecting, and it looked like the past 3 years just was a blur, and like I had lost myself in the process. Don't let this happen to you. Get in touch with your heart. And I have some questions to help to surface that. And the first is, what would you do for free because you love it so much, even if you could get paid for it? Second, what's a topic when it comes up, you can't stop talking about it? Third, is there an injustice in the world that gets you really angry? Or how about one that gets you really sad? When do you lose track of time because you get so immersed in an activity? And then finally, is there a specific people group, an age bracket, a subculture that you feel particularly drawn to? How would you like to help them? These are just some ways to get in touch with what's in your heart. All right, next, let's ask your history. Contrary to what you hear on commercials by investment firms, past performance does, in fact, indicate future returns. Okay? There's a good chance that the same skills and talents you used in past successes will also show up in your future successes as well. The danger, if you're not clear on this, is that you will become a commodity in the workplace. You'll get lost in that great sea of generic job applicants. You need to stand out. And that applies to your current job as well. You need to find the roles and projects that leverage your exceptional strengths, but you also need to be able to describe what those are and articulate those. So here's an exercise for you. Think of a time in your life when you felt really successful, accomplished, something you were really proud of. And this works best for something short term, maybe a project, and it doesn't have to be in your career. Okay? Then write that scenario out in story form, paying particular attention to the skills and talents you used along the way to get to success. I'll give you an example. Say you're in your department and you notice some big inefficiencies you think you could fix. You pitch that to the senior management, recruit a team, get them organized, handle the curveballs that might come your way, keep everybody focused on the goal, and then hit the finish line. Okay, in that story, you initiated, you recruited, you sold, you organized, you arranged, and you kept focus. Those are some great skills. Okay, that's how this works. Then repeat that for 2 or 3 other scenarios. And now again, look for patterns. Which skills and talents keep showing up along your history? Those are the ones that energize you and most likely where you should channel your energy for the future. For more detail on this, I highly recommend the book, What Color is Your Parachute by Richard M. Bowles. Okay, and finally, ask your creator or use a spiritual approach. You may have heard this expression, you think you're God's gift to the world, right? And usually that's meant as a put down or something to put someone in their place. But here's the truth. You really are God's gift to the world. Many faith traditions teach that you were born on this earth for a reason, and finding that reason fills an existential need inside of you. And to ignore this can lead to a life devoid of meaning. Okay? We don't want that for you. So I really encourage you, lean into that big existential question, why am I here? And to get you started, I have just 3 different practices that you can try. And the first is to read spiritual texts or scriptures. Hey, people have been on this quest for eternal truth for millennia, okay? And it helps to read what they've learned along the way. I particularly like contemplatives like Thomas Merton and Brennan Manning and different passages from the Bible, but there's a lot out there that you can take advantage of. Second is spiritual journaling. And this is where you, on a regular basis, write down your thoughts, questions, prayers, and in written form. And here's the key. Every once in a while, go back and review what you wrote. You might start to see a bigger picture emerge that you may have missed on a day-to-day basis. And third, consult a spiritual mentor, okay? A rabbi, a priest, a pastor, an imam, a guru, a counselor. They may be able to help you get those answers that you're looking for. I'd be happy to share some of my own insights as well. I believe your big existential questions want to be answered, but you need to ask. Seek, and you will find. Okay, well, let's bring these all together. We talked about 5 different areas and things to ask. The goal here is not to clog your mind with yet more insights. The goal is clarity. And this is a little counterintuitive, but clarity is actually a process of removal. I want you to think of a dense, cloudy morning where you can't see what's around you, but then the sun comes out and burns off the fog, and then you can see what was always there, but now it's revealed. It was hidden. That's the way clarity works. Remove the small, distracting things in your life, and then the big picture emerges. It was always there, it was just hard to recognize. So take a look at your different exercises and which themes keep showing up across these different perspectives. And of those, what's the one theme that really stands out, the one that resonates with you the most? And don't overcomplicate it, okay? Clarity is not meant to explain every area in your life. It's more like a guiding North Star to provide focus, okay? It's simple and it's singular. All right, now let's get practical. Once you have clarity on your purpose, is it realistic? Should we then go find a job that 100% aligns your life purpose with your new role? And there's a word for that, and it's unrealistic, okay? Not gonna happen, not gonna happen. A much better approach, instead of trying to find the perfect job, is to use your newfound sense of clarity to shape a role. Okay, you have wiggle room in there, and you can take your strengths, negotiate, bargain, so that you can make your job work for you and fit where you can do your best work. Do you remember my client Jason from the first story? Okay, when we left him, he was stuck, unfulfilled. He was being passed over for that CIO role over and over again. And when he and I worked together, he realized, he hated corporate politics. And he hated sitting in meetings all day. And when we worked on his life purpose, you know what he uncovered? I like to assemble teams that build products that improve the lives of underserved communities. That's what brought him joy. That's what really energized him. So he abandoned the CIO ambitions. He pivoted to become Chief Product Officer. And then with newfound energy, he started speaking at conferences, started mentoring, sharing his subject matter expertise. His internal corporate leadership noticed they started giving him staff he didn't even ask for, and he was being invited into all the cool new projects. And even his wife commented that his old self was back again. So what changed for Jason? Not his job, not his skills. What changed was his perspective, and that changed everything. So what about you? Of the 5 asks, which one of these intrigued you the most? And each one had a specific exercise associated with it. What one exercise will you commit to? When will you do it? Be specific. And do you need some accountability? Arrange for that as well. All right, I sincerely hope that you get a clearer sense of your life purpose so that you can go shape a role to make a difference in the world. And I want to close with a quote by the great civil rights leader, Howard Thurman. And he said, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive, because What the world needs is people who have come alive. Thank you.